Story 1, Chapter F. The Seven Magical Adventures of Genii. The Quest for the Ancient Wisdom Map. The Brotherhood of Pao. Presented and narrated by Jemjara the Storyteller, representing the guiding force of fantasy and magic, residing in fairy tale Palace Planet. Chapter F. Tribon. As they reached the top of the mountains, they had a clear look at Tribon in the valley in between the icy mountains surrounding it. Niama explained the history of Tribon while they descended into the valley. It was at a time in history when the Dwarfens and Golots were hunted down by the Collecterians, escaping into the icy mountains, and discovered this valley with many villages situated at different heights, connected with each other with stairs, completely built with ceramic homes, streets and endless other objects, all made of ceramic in all kinds of shades of red. There were several villages, but all was deserted, except for the strange-looking animals and scary-looking insects that were not seen anywhere else inside the Red Planet. Nobody exactly knows who had built the entire valley, or where the makers had come from or left for. It was truly a treasure for the Dwarfens and Golots, who just needed to clean and cultivating the land containing a very rich soil. In no time, they had it all running. As the icy mountains were situated inside a minimum time zone, the Collecterians had very little attraction to be there, as their life was in the fast lane. Also, the small roads leading over the mountains and the very cold weather was not something to their liking. Looking down with her special eyes, Genii saw all the different villages situated on different heights and connecting with each other by a maze of steps and stairs. But also, each village itself, with many homes, was a labyrinth of steps and stairs. She thought about Portigo and Sparacuta, and now here in Tribon, all built with steps and stairs, keeping everyone exercising their legs. She looked at cute little homes, but most of all she liked the ceramic trees in the villages hanging with ceramic round baskets with real plants or root vegetables growing inside of them. The wagons pulled by ponies, which the Tribonese were using for transporting things, were also very beautiful looking and of course also made from ceramic. "It must be a strong ceramic," stated Genii. "It is, and God knows where the material came from and how it was made. I think that it stood here for centuries and will be standing here for more centuries to come." At times in history, although the valley was not a favorite place, the Collecterians often invaded Tribon, trying to capture Dwarfens and Golots for their labor force. Each time after a while the Collecterians moved away again, and for many reasons, and the Tribonese came back again. This has happened several times. But why are they now not invading the place? In the eyes of the Collecterians, the Tribonese are already working for them. How so? The agricultural lands around the villages, the Dwarfens and Golots harvest earth foods, and because Earth's realm is in a semi-darkness, it is excellent for root foods such as carrots, potatoes, beets, garlic, radishes and ginger. There are also sheep farms, wool factories, wooden shoemakers, furniture making, and the most beautiful skill handed down for generations, woolen rock making. The Collecterians do come here for trade these days and trading their cheap modern stuff they produce in the Metallicondas. So there is no system that you can pay with money? No, there are no life credits nor money, only the possibility of trading. But why are the Tribonese buying these cheap products from the Collecterians? They too are infected by the modern consumer world. One tribe of the Collecterians became all about trade, and they love the quality products the Tribonese make for their personal use. The Collecterians slowly moved into the village and the village life, and are now as well infecting the old school system. And with the children changing, the great ancient tribal system starts also slowly falling apart. What was that system before? It was a kind of homeschooling you did, Chennai. The children learned a trade from their parents and learned from nature. When a child wanted to learn another trade than the parents had, they were sent to other Tribonese in the same or other villages. There were very strict rules here in the past to keep the tribal system together, and the Collecterians were able to break through the rules. How so? As in the past, it was here a self-supporting economy system, nothing going out and nothing coming in from the outside. The Collecterians started to smuggle produce inside, such as alcohol, drugs, tobacco, sweets, and cheap but tasty foods and snacks. The not-so-strong Tribonese fell for it. They separated themselves from a union and self-sufficient system, which they had before. I come here often to help the Tribonese to make better choices and not to fall for the stuff coming from the Collecterians. It has, however, gone too far, and these days I am coaching them regarding a global tribal system for those who want to stay living healthy and aware. Many young Tribonese are not interested in my talks, but the time will come that they will have to make changes. It is just a matter of time. They were making slowly their way down into the valley, and the very cold temperature changed into a crispy weather condition, and Ironix adjusted their outfits into their burgundy long robes with hood, and all of them now wearing a fancy-looking red mask. Dionex also disguised the unicorns into normal horses because they didn't want to attract unwanted attention. They were welcomed by a group of women who are called the Red Druids. They had picked up through telepathy that Niama was coming. These women had the knowledge of the ancient art of healing, with herbs and crystals, gems, colors, and incense. Niama explained to Genai that throughout the centuries many had been burned and killed and announced as witches, as their wisdom interfered with the power of organized religion leaders. For that night they were lodged by one of the family members of the Red Druids, who had an inn called the Sheep's Inn, connected to a wool factory and located by a lake. Genai went to look in the stables if the unicorns were doing fine, and before they went to sleep Genai was toured through the factory of how wool was used in its many forms. Woolen clothes were manufactured, but the weaving of woolen rugs was of Genai's interest. She was amazed, watching weavers weaving the most incredible woolen rugs. Hearing that some rugs took over 10 years to be hand-woven was amazing to her. Niama commented about the dedication and love that went into one of these rugs. While walking through the rug shop, she could actually feel that love of those who had made them. Trying to fit in. The next morning, Genai heard that they were going to attend a meeting where Morai would speak to the teenagers of the villages, who had all come together at the yearly held event, which would last for a week. On their way to the meeting, they had to be extra careful as there were Collecterians as well walking through the village. They couldn't risk to be recognized. At the meeting, Morai, who stayed in disguise and just being one of the guest speakers, called Sir Wise. He explained first the meaning of the teenage years and that it had to do with slowly becoming your own person. In order to do this, there is no need to rebel against the parents or taking on strange behavior, because it is a process that continues till one is 21 years of age. So, the creating of friction between parents and teenagers need to be avoided, as everybody still lives together. Morai was sitting in a comfortable chair and kept speaking. You all feel probably that you do not fit into the family you're in right now. Many heads were saying yes. I ask you all a question to ask yourself if you fit in anywhere. There was a lot of noise until Genai stood up and said, What do you exactly mean, Sir Wise? There are many ways we try to fit in, and let me give you an example. Most boys and girls around the puberty seeking a new way of identifying with themselves other than connecting with their self-image connected to the father or mother. It is a time that we need to find out who we are other than connecting ourselves to the parents. In the old cultures, it was done through a form of initiation to assist the girl to become a woman and the boy to become a man. In some distant planets, these initiations still take place, but have also changed into strange rituals, which is also not needed. The initiation is basically a being together with the old wise men and women of the tribe who assist the youngsters to move into self-dependence and soul self-recognition. In the modern times, there is very little assistance of old wise men and women, and basically what is happening is that the children rebelliously break away from the stage of being a girl or boy. It is done through fighting with the parent and rebelling through music or the way of dressing, but without the proper guidance. These youngsters seeking a new identity, which mostly gets connected to fitting into a group. Funny as it is. They don't want to identify with the parents anymore, but are desperately seeking to fit in and feeling secure in a group. With each group goes a certain image, and when you don't fit in, you struggle with an identity crisis again. Most people in life are trying to fit into a group, which in their minds gives them an identity and a form of security. There are social groups, races and cultural groups, religion, sports, professions, interest groups, and many more. The smallest group is a couple, or in other words a relationship, which then in most cases becomes a family group of people. Is there something wrong to be part of a group, Sir Wise? Asked Genai again. No, groups are there to experience certain things. I am talking about the identification process in our minds that is connected to it. We all came alone, and one day we all go, without anybody going with us. We are children of light, bodies of eternal light, part of Kandu, and the bodies and the creation is our momentary adventure, where we all have our individual experiences. However, we forget what we truly are afraid to be alone and with ourselves, and for that reason we escape and trying to fit into groups. Then we struggle to fit into a group and to be accepted by the norm of that group, or lose ourselves completely in that group. This all is a trick of Kali Mobanco, our mind, which tries to bind us to this world and doesn't want that we identify with that what we truly are. When we identify only with Kandu, Kali Mobanco has no grip on us anymore, because then we are on the path of liberation and we are becoming free of the connection with the mind. People seeking freedom in the creation, which is the realm of Kalimabanco, and telling each other what to believe and how to behave. There is the fight between partners and family members, and there are fights between countries and groups of any kind to the extent that people kill each other in the name of Kandu. We will be part of many groups in our life, but we don't need to identify with them. And we definitely do not need a crisis and struggle of needing to fit in. We are not from here, so why all this effort of trying to fit in? We need the old wise men and women, teachers and religion, reminding us of our individuality as souls, and reminding us that on that level of Kandu we are all connected, as Kandu, who is the core of everything and everybody. So, when we need a group, it is a group of souls, which is the essence of everything and everyone. This is our family, and not the other suits of mind and body. But how do I do that, sir? Asked Shania. That is very simple. We need to surround ourselves with people reminding us that we are not from here. We need to pray and meditate to be with Kandu. And we also can use our imagination, just as we use our imagination to fit with our body and mind in a group. An image is an identification link. Think how people dress to fit into a certain group. So, let's imagine that we are transparent beings, walking around on the planet and experiencing endless things. Experiencing, but not making it ours. Because when we identify with the creation, we lose our transparent image and dress ourselves up. This real me lives in the world, but doesn't become of it. In other words, don't try to fit into any of the many suits. Most of us have already too many suits in which we are bounded to this world, and we need to take these suits off in order to find out who we really are. Shania replied, so I have to get rid of me, of what I believe is me, and becoming that transparent me which is my real me. You got it. But what is the fun of all? Asked another teenager. You become a better observer. You get lesser struggle with emotions, and you become a better person as you connect to the source of love, Kandu. On the level of the soul, we all fit into this love, and that's our perfect fit. After the meeting, many teenagers came up to Shania, who had introduced herself as Mira, and they explained to her that they had been shy and that she was courageous asking these questions, especially to this Sir Wise, where everybody was looking up to. There was a lot to share for Shania about her life and listening about the life of the other teenagers, and very fast a strong bond was created. Dionyx had fun during the meetings to dress everybody up in the latest fashion, and to not let anybody get too attached to their clothing, he constantly interchanged them. After leaving the hall where the meeting took place, they returned to the sleeping quarters, and Shania feels her legs getting stronger from all the steps and staircases in the villages. Every day they would attend these meetings held in a different village of Tribon in order to assist the youngsters that not only were coping with their teenage years, but also about the strong influence of the modern world brought into their communities by the Collecterians. Strolling in the skies with Dionyx, Shania saw the evidence of a modern world slowly taking over, as she had seen in Miniox City, and of course on her own planet. Shania tried not to pay too much attention to the modern things, but looked more for the ancient way of the tribes, and discovered endless treasures, especially the quality of the products the old dwarfins and Golots were still producing. the school system. The following morning, they attended a special meeting for couples planning to have children. It was about trying to stick more to the old school system and to be careful with the system and teachers that are brought into Tribon by the Collectarians. Niama, like the others, stayed in disguise and was introduced as Nanda. She commented that regarding the preparations of children to survive in the bigger world, teachers are needed who are not presenting themselves as authorities, but are just there to provide the environment and tools in order for the knowledge and skills to come from within the child. Niama confirmed that all knowledge is already within everyone. Inside the mind, all knowledge is stored, because how could we recognize anything when that picture wouldn't already be within us? In order to plan an education, Niama asks the listeners, would you give your child in the hands of anybody and let anybody be part of the education of your child? Someone commenting saying, that's why there are schools and teachers. So, you just assume that because it is a school, that the school provides the right teachers? Is that not the case? When you buy something expensive, and is a child not precious? Do you not try it out first? I see what you mean, but does the school's reputation not secure this? I wouldn't just assume that. The same counts for a recognized horse seller. Aren't you first not going to test it? But schools and teachers are just there to get a diploma, and that's the only important thing. Niama answered again, are you sure, or is it about the education and the influence of the individual teachers over the years when we attend school? Oh, I never thought about that in that way. Your children will probably receive the skills from the school and teachers, but I want to know how they look upon my child. Do they realize that all knowledge is already inside every child, and that it is just providing the right circumstances and then repeating the skill until it becomes an automatic? Or does the school and teachers think that the child basically doesn't know, and that they know and they are the smart authorities? Your children, when not being with you and spending many hours during the day with their teacher, will pick up from them, or not? I suppose so. Shania stood up saying, I would want to know how the teacher lives, the consciousness they have, the way they speak, their judgments and beliefs, their way of behavior, eating, relationships, and even more. Many couples attending were surprised that Shania spoke these words, but agreed with her comment. One person stood up and addressed Niama saying, you don't think that that is going too private? Are you just going to let it all happen? Or wouldn't you want to have a talk with a teacher and find out about some things? I don't think that when I put my criteria high, that there will be any teacher approved by me, spoke another person. So, you are going to send your children anyway. Maybe it is time to establish some criteria which maybe produces a different level of conscious teachers. As long as we buy unhealthy products, manufacturers will keep on producing. It is the same thing with teachers. The person replied, this sounds more like utopia. Is it really? Or am I asking maybe for things that should be there in the first place? I am not talking about a perfect being, but I'm setting my criteria, which is reasonable. Or do you still want to throw your child for the lions? Maybe when you're not too conscious about life, your level of hygiene is poor, you scream and yell at your children, you don't care what certain foods do to you or your children, you watch violent movies and you let your children do the same, probably all doesn't matter. No, I want to be more conscious and live healthier and be a better example to my child. There you have your answer. And when you do not find the right school and teachers, there is always the possibility of homeschooling the old way. You may want to look into that as well. Like the investigations we do before buying anything, let's do more about the future for our children. Why is it that very few parents really spend time with their children? Asked Shania. In some of the villages, dwarfs and Golots, the male are working on the land and the women are working in home duties and other homes. This came from the time they were enslaved, where the men had to work for the Collecterians on their lands and the women as housekeepers in their homes. This is now seen as normal, and very few are able to break through that pattern as they think that this is normal. As well, there is the tendency that the work that the women do at home and raising children is not acknowledged. So women do not feel appreciated and seeking career for themselves. It also has to do that many couples are not satisfied with the old tribal way of living in simplicity anymore. Many are not content with living with the rhythms and support of nature. They want more and more, and with wanting more and paying for it comes more work and no time for the children. Shania was drifting off a little, and the last thing she heard were that couples need to ask themselves for what reason they would want to have children. Morai commenting that children are not from us, but that they come through us. They are the children of Kandu, the Creator, and need to be respected that way, raised and treated in the best way possible. They need to be surrounded with health and positive-minded individuals, because the company we have and the things we do has a great influence on us. After the meeting, they hear that the news goes around in the village, not only that a very wise man is amongst them, but also a very strong girl is with him. This is why the Collecterians want to find about these two persons, and they start to track them down as they wanted to capture the girl. Collecterians were afraid of any foreign girl that was smart in their eyes. They linked these girls with the prophecy, and any of them could be a great danger to their empire. Almost caught. That afternoon, during a meeting with the teenagers, Shania decided to go for a short walk, and although disguised, she was spotted by a group of Collecterians who had a teenager with him. Shania fast figured out that she was betrayed by that teenager who possibly was under the power of the Collecterians. The teenager pointed at her, and then Shania had to run. When it would not have been for the steps and staircases and the maze of small streets, she would have been captured very fast. She kept running, and everywhere on the streets and alleys there are many recycling ceramic garbage containers standing, which she pulls down, rolling down the steps and endless staircases and crushing some of the Collecterians. Slowly, however, the Collecterians were closing in on her from all directions, and at one point she got tired and was standing trapped in a dead-end street. As the Collecterians came closer, she thought about painting a door in midair and speaking the password, and in the last second she escapes from the Collecterians. As the magical door opens and Jimjaro waiting for her on his magical carpet, Shania jumps on and the door closes itself behind her. The Collecterians feel upset and defeated, and they left not knowing that Shania would have to come back at the same spot at some point in time. Spending time with Jimjara, Shania finds out about the situations elsewhere on the planet, which was all getting more intense. After some time, she re-entered Tribon at the same spot where she had left. The Collecterians had also left as they were not used to this kind of magic. They now had to become extra careful as the Collecterians are tracking them. They also change their lodging place, and so are the venues changed every day where they meet with the teenagers. It is a dangerous game they play, but they do not want to let down those teenagers who really want to hear Sir Wise, Nanda, and meet that special young girl who is looked upon as a hero. Dionysus had to disguise everyone differently, for it seemed that there was always one teenager amongst the others that spied for the Collecterians. In disguise, Shania got the feeling that she needed to keep exploring all the villages, walking endless steps and staircases, which made her legs stronger each day. And in addition, she helped working on the land with some teenagers she had become friends with. It helped her as well to feel grounded and to forget the emotions coming up, missing her mother and the twins. It felt as if she had been gone for months. After one daily meeting with the teenagers, the Collecterians had come to know where she was and waiting for her. Genii each time when she almost gets caught uses the escape door to Jimjara, until the Collecterians understood the trick and stayed waiting for her at the same spot where she left through the door. While being with Jimjara in his realm, she senses that the Collecterians are waiting for her when she would step back out through the magical door. Talking with Jimjara, they find the trick to bring a dragon with her, and when she steps back through the door and Collecterians waiting for her, running for their lives, seeing the dragon coming out from the door behind her. During the evenings, Morai gets all the attention he needs for his back, and Genii learns a lot from the villagers. She sees the cleanliness of the Tribonese and starts even taking better care of herself and cleaning her room, which she shares with Niyama. Living amongst the old-fashioned Tribonese, she is reminded about the basic things of life and how to live in harmony with nature. Morai commented that when people do not live with the laws of nature and the universe, harmony and respect disappears, and for that reason, most systems in the world are now about man-made laws based on control. In every area of life, somebody is trying to control somebody else, and this not just about governments, leaders and religious leaders, but in businesses and even homes. It was not strange that in the next meeting with many teenagers, the subject control and freedom was the topic of interest. Morai made the children understand how individuals had lost their power by giving everything out of their hands. Morai stated that not just the power of education is been given in the hands of others, but that the individual's spiritual power is given away to religion and rituals. The power of taking care of healthy food is given in the hands of manufacturers. Money is given in the hands of banks and held in the hands of healthcare practitioners and insurances. In the end, this all results in individuals feeling helpless and hopeless and feeling controlled by others, but forgetting that they have given their own power up. The solution was to bring as much power back in one's own hands. After the meeting, Genii asked Morai about saving for the future. Morai says to Genii that on her planet most of individuals are busy with one or more kinds of savings trying to ensure the future, such as acquiring possessions like land, houses, saving accounts in banks, investments in stocks, having a big family in the hope children will take care of the parents later on in life, pension plans, taking various insurances regarding medical, life, school and home. All the above mentioned is basically okay. However, when it is done based on fear, it will automatically take away from our momentary living and frantically only being busy for the future. In this case, we are confronted that we are not accepting the life in the moment. Most likely, we did not accept life how it was in the past, and we think that we now, by staying busy with ensuring the future, we will be accepting our life in the future. By being so busy only for the future, we are forgetting to take care of ourselves right now. And most likely, through the stresses and pressure and forcing, confronting ourselves with lots of signs, symptoms and disease patterns, and the fact and results of prematuring old age. So when in the future these savings come to the surface, which is not even a guarantee, we may not be able to enjoy because our bodies are worn out. All the information sank even better in than the first time when she got the information regarding savings for the future from Niyama in Minyak City. After the week, they feel they need to continue their journey, and they decided to go to Ekokania, situated next to Darkania, and to find out as much as possible, but they got trapped by heavy weather and snow. Trying to constantly change lodging locations and their disguise, Janai looked at one point in time through the window and was able to look through the heavy snowfall and spotted with her special eyes robo-birds driven by Collecterian pirates, equipped with their weapons such as slingshot rifles, slingshot crossbows, arm-sized slingshot cannons and hand-sized catapults, circling high in the air above the valley of Tribon. They talk about the situation, and they expect the Collecterians to circle down and to start shooting any moment. They were aware that the robobirds couldn't land as there were no port that could handle their size. Janai did send Serena off to warn the village elders, and in no time all the villages are in a state of alarm. Just before the Collecterians started their attack, which was worse than expected, as the robobirds started to release big-sized rocks and dropping them like bombs, everybody returned inside their homes. The four friends, with some Tribonese and Red Druids, escaped in time in the underground road system that connected to the labyrinths of Cyclondor. This connection of the labyrinths was shut off long time ago, as the recyclons didn't have any purpose here, as the Tribonese took care of the garbage and recycling themselves. The Tribonese, instructed by the Red Druids, however, had reopened the old tunnels, which were the size of the recyclons, and had made the tunnels wider, and having it ready whenever there would be another invasion of the Collecterians. Tribon, in the meantime, is under heavy attack, and the villagers hide inside their homes and survive the attack because of their indestructible materials the homes were built from. But they expect that other Collecterians coming soon, walking and riding over the mountain passes. Inside the tunnel system was another secret tunnel just made by the Red Druids themselves, who traded in secret natural medicine with some individuals in Ekokania, and it was lit by little torches and was made of red limestone. They had to leave the unicorns behind as they could not get to them, but received 4 horses and all the details how to go about through the tunnels. They said their farewells to the Red Druids and some other Tribonese and go further underground to Ekokania, leaving the minimum time zone Janai discovered that almost no time has passed.